finally a Flat Earth Friday again. How are you doing this evening, brother?
I'm great. I'm really excited to be here again, fighting for truth with you, of course, and the team. Thank you, everyone, for showing up. Stinky Cash is back again.
Stinky as ever.
I mean, even stinkier, right? At least this time he's made a list and put his name to something, right?
Which it allows us the opportunity to go through and point out point for point how obviously wrong he is and how he's part of an agenda, and he's the one that's actually going to tell us what team he's on tonight, which is sort of crazy. I'm excited to be able to play this for y'all because he's going to make it real obvious, real clear which team he's on.
So, my story with Stinky Cash, I don't he doesn't use a real name. It goes back to when he showed up on the scene around 2015. And he came out as a complete like anti, you know who rhymes with who. We can't say it on YouTube. They'll take it down. And so I instantly called him out. He was with Eric Dubé's crew and he was driving around with the you know who did 9/11, and he had a blowhorn and he was yelling at people out of his truck. And then he all of a sudden became a fake flat earther. And I even had made a video about him a couple of times. One time he made a video that he said there's no compasses on flat Earth, and how ridiculous I thought that was, because absolutely we've been using compasses for a long, long time, and then that's how we navigate here, plus the stars. And so he did a stream not that long ago, and he was talking about how he's back. So this Stinky Cash guy that you guys are going to see, like I said, I've been around, longer than he has on the internet truth movement here on YouTube, and I watched him and documented the entire process. He's flaked out. As soon as the AE map got pulled, he was gone. He ran out. He did a little crying that David Weiss didn't give him enough credit because he invented the flat Earth clock. That was all his idea, and David Weiss didn't give it to him. And he was in and out. First, he was a complete you know who hater, naming the you know what, right? Rhymes with blows, naming the blows. And so that was what he was. And we absolutely knew that he was one of the you know who's, right? We knew right from the start. Stinky Cash, the guy collects pennies. Come on, are you kidding me? I couldn't believe that nobody else could see that this guy was an absolute shill. So here he was constantly putting out dismiss and malinformation. He came back onto the scene not that long ago, and I was like, Jason, did you see that? Cash guy is back. And Jason, you were like, yeah, yeah. So he did a stream a couple of weeks ago saying that he's going to be a full-time flat earther again, and he wants to start to make money. And I came in there and I said, haven't you been paid enough for your disinformation? Right? As you've been lying, and you know what? Name in the nose is who you are. And so he's come back, and he actually made this video. It looks like in a response to you, Jason, and our team. He doesn't know indirectly that it's been me. The Event Skeptic was my original name. So Stinky Cash has been gone from the movement for so long that I've gone through, and I didn't like the name Event Skeptic. I wanted the Limitless Channel is what I changed to. And so he's back, and he's just giving out all the information about who he is and what he's about. And that's my long-winded rant. I just wanted to make sure that everybody tuning in knows that I have a very long history of tracking and documenting all the shills in the truth movement, the so-called truth movement, because I've always been super critical. I was the skeptic of not only the truth, but the people that have been out here. And Jason and I have been documenting it for over 8 years.
Yeah, well, we did the hangout with the John Laban, where I mean, you have all the credentials of having been in the original truth movement of the internet age. So you were in that original group. We'll do it live, and the Jeff C. And you guys can do all the reminiscing to that. You know how that group was imploded and destroyed, and you were there when Flat Earth came along. You were right in that truth group. Now I wasn't. I caught it a little bit later. It was it probably was either late 2015. No, it was like spring of 2015 that I actually first started looking into it. It was the fall of 2015 that I was sort of confirmed in it. And then it was like by early 2016 I was doing content on it. I was up to speed enough where I felt like I could contribute to it. So Yeah, I came into it a little bit later. You had the couple of years in the truth movement on me, and now he's trying to act like he's got street credit with a 2014 date, and yeah, but he's like talking about JFK stuff. He's not. He wasn't even. He didn't even know about 9/11 yet in 2014. He was really sort of a latecomer, as it was to the truth movement, and yeah, we're gonna see like where his ministry began, and that's some crazy stuff to me because it came out of his mouth. It's not like we're speculating on this kind of stuff. We're actually just showing you what he said. And once you see it, if you're any sort of a truther, you're going to understand that this is a deep New World Order agent shill. All right, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. And so he's going to be shilling for the impossible psyop, fake flat Earth, that is so debunkable. Like, we've made this easy enough for a child to be able to understand the impossibilities. He's got 20 points where he's talking about how he believes in it still, how he supports it. We're going to go through those 20 points and show you how dumb they all are. It really is to the point now, people, where if you believe that you're on a flat plane but that you're in a pressurized pizza dome, you are literally more stupid than you were as a globe earther. Like, because the understanding, the cognitive functioning of being able to understand that, okay, if the sun's rising from this angle and setting to that angle, that doesn't work with the AE mappa model. These things are very blatant. They're very obvious. It's not something that you have to be a genius to understand. And we're just going to keep showing it to people over and over and over again. It's going to come down to your heart condition as to whether or not you're going to continue to accept the impossible fake flat Earth model, or you're going to understand that there is only one working mappa model, and that is that we're in a stereographic virtual reality. A lot of people don't like hearing that because you're hearing it from a couple of Christians that believe in the Bible, that have done all the research and understand that the creator of the world is the creator from the Bible and all that kind of stuff. People do not like to hear that. They want to hear that the creator is a snot-nosed snotty-nosed kid in a basement, that, they're a simulation. They would take that as something better than actually believing that the creator from the Bible was their creator. But none of that matters, because we are coming down to a judgment time period where all of this has been going on for almost 6,000 years. And we are going to be going into the Great Tribulation very soon. It could be starting as soon as this Monday. We're going to be doing a live stream Sunday night, and we're going to be going through some of the things. But we were really thinking that last year, 2023, all the world events were really pointing to it. Now we're a year deeper, and we're at that 7-year marker. Whereas in 2017 we had the first American eclipse. This year we've got this one coming up right now. And there's so many weird things tied to it, like the road signs that we're seeing right now, where it's saying, eclipse 4/8, prepare for emergencies. Like it's really weird stuff. That exciting times. I've got to say. I mean, we get to do some flat Earth tonight, but we got the eclipse coming up this Monday. What's going through your head right now, brother?
So, just to roll it back a little bit here, I want to talk about the heart condition. Okay. Excuse me. So when you get into the truth movement and you start learning things, there are gatekeepers all along the way. And what it comes down to is when somebody speaks truth to you, like the fact that I can pull up Stellarium and show you the southern constellations that rotate clockwise around Sigma Octans. That's another pole in the sky. The sky has 2 poles, okay? 2 poles in the sky. And when you look at them, you can navigate differently on the map, okay? In the one-poled flat Earth AE mappa model, pizza pressurized dome, infinite dome, there's only 1 pole. So every single astronomical measurement that's south of the equator isn't represented in their reality. And that's the reason why I had a globe Earth shill, Tim Osman with the S's, came to me. I knew him from before Flat Earth. And he said, Ronnie, look at this. Okay, it just does not work You can't have the southern constellations rotating clockwise around the Octanus area, and then all the rest of them rotating counterclockwise around Polaris. And at that point, I had you have an option to either follow the truth or continue lying because you want to stay a part of a team. And I boldly spoke out and became the number one enemy of the AE map and model, and only because I am a promoter and a seeker of truth at any cost. And so tonight we're going to show you at least 20 debunks of all of 20 things. Maybe there's one or two that we might see, you know, maybe he's got some common ground, but everything that Stinky Cash is 20 reasons why he still shills for the AE map and model is absolute proof that the guy's dishonest and not intelligent. And the characters like Austin Whitsitt doesn't get it. The fact that these guys can't see that the AE map and model was tied to the flat earth, and they were warned with the Illuminati card game that the flat earthers knew something, that the earth was definitely flat, but the entire movement was set up from the jump by gatekeepers and shills like Eric Dubay and Mark Sargent. Eric Dubay came out as a name the who know, you know, agenda completely supporting you know what, right? And then you had guys like Mark Sargent that came out and said you live in a video game, which is absolutely a lot more true. And what people need to understand is the level of consciousness it takes to understand reality is a lot higher than just thinking that you live in a big bang spinning ball cosmology, where on the smallest scale it's tiny invisible big balls, and on the large scale it's invisible big balls. It's all just nonsense. But the fact that you live in a virtual reality and it's super special, and the whole thing was created just for you to experience it. That's the truth. And they pitted Mark against Eric, against everybody that was truthful. And the main agenda was to come up with the firmament, which just means sky, a vast expanse above our heads, to make that into a solid dome, right? And then to move it onto the AE map and model and then tie that to the Bible so that they could debunk the whole thing. But it didn't work. Okay, it didn't work. Jason and I came along, and some other people, thankfully, have spoken out, and it's going to be on you on the other side of the screen to accept which proofs that you think Stinky Cash is lying after you hear the actual debunks of them. When you hear the way that they're able to be easily refuted. We only had a couple of hours to work on this. Right? We worked today. Stinky Cash did the video last night, late at night. If we were to spend hours, we could come up with over 100 AE map model debunks, but we'll just do the 20 tonight that he's outlined.
Yeah, this is what we can do just getting home from work a couple hours early, right? And it's because we know the material. We've been going over this for the last 7 years. Debunking the Freemason pressurized pizza dome is sort of like our specialty. Like we're good at it, and we teach people how to do it. And we'll just go to the well house, and you know, it's sort of simple. Let's get into it, right?
It's how we met. Jason. We met because I was looking for other people. Jason had tried to model. He tried to 3D model the AE, and it didn't work.
Yeah, it didn't.
He was in the same camp as me.
Yeah,
7 years ago.
It didn't take somebody coming along and saying, "Hey, you should check out the Southern Star Trails" and something like that. I just wanted to make a video, so I went into SketchUp and I started making the circular model with the sun going around in it, and I started looking at the data, and all of a sudden, boom! Like it was overwhelming. It's absolutely freaking impossible. The sun goes the wrong direction for half the year.
Whoops. It's circling off the map.
Off the map. Yeah.
Circling off the map. And hey, listen, everybody that's tuning in right now, Jason and I would love more than anything to have Stinky Cash here in the hot seat. We would love to have Jaron Campanella. We asked many times. We were lucky enough to get beside Bob Nodell a couple. Thank you, bro Sanchez, for that. We're not hiding from anybody. They block us. Okay. Stinky Cash, he was the one who said, "Come at me, bro. Come at me, bro." Okay, you're going to say Jason's name, Awake Souls. We're going to come at you, and trust me, you're going to wish you had never said his name. You know, Stinky Cash is the first fake flat earther that actually said your name. He didn't even say like Awake Fools or Event Septic. He didn't throw any of the insult. He literally said Awake Souls, but then he put you as the CIA made up term Pac-Man, which doesn't represent the model in any way. Pac-Man only has 2 spots that he can literally go in and out of. The reality that we're in, the looping boundaries that you can loop in any spot on the edges of the boundaries, but we're going to get into that. I'm going way too far. But thank you everyone for tuning in. Please, if you could just leave a comment below, let us know anything that you got from the podcast. If you've been a flat earther, if you know who Stinky Cash is, we look to also hear from you on the other side of the screen. And we get a lot of stuff that's banned, monetized. We're not monetized. I mean, all of our comments get disappeared, hidden. We're not here. We're not monetized. We don't sell copies. We don't sell t-shirts. We go to work with our hands. This is our passion project. And the only thing that we ever ask is that you participate and jump in and have fun with us. Share some truth. I'm just thankful that you're here tonight, and I'm excited.
Yeah, this to Stinky. We're coming for you, bro. Let's go.
So it's actually a good thing not to get that much. It is proof. I am telling you, it is one of your messages.
These people think I'm nuts, they're blind and out of touch. Look into the television, think you'll learn a lot. There's so much going on, but you're staring at your phone. It can delete your history, they know what touch you on. You think they got your back, but then you break your neck. Forget responsibility, you're just a liability. You write another check and get yourself in debt. You're the perfect citizen, they know you're not a threat. These people think I'm nuts, they're blind and out of touch. Look into the television, think you'll learn a lot. There's so much going on, but you're staring at your phone. You can't delete your history, they know what touch you want. Don't wanna be like everyone else. Are we just numbers they can resell? It's a rat race and a circus. We can always find a purpose. If you find one, it'll hurt less. It's a cycle and it's pointless. It's a rat race and a circus. We can always find a purpose. If you find one, it'll hurt less. It's a cycle and it's pointless. They just confirmed my doubts. The truth was coming out. This thing about the satellites, they took his channel down. But I don't really care. This world is so unfair. I'll keep the information safe. I'll tell you if you dare. In fact, just sit right down. You need to know this now. The corporation tried to buy me, but I turned them down. They're coming for me now. They're coming for me now. I got an ad on Instagram for Pfizer Russian. It's a rat race and a circus. We can always find a purpose. If you find one, it'll hurt less. It's a cycle and it's pointless. It's a rat race and a circus. We can always find a purpose. If you find one, it'll hurt less. It's a cycle and it's pointless. There's got to be now an escape and I to live my life by, to spend my time by. I'm addicted to the bad news. It reinforces my truth. It confirms my doubts. The sneaking suspicion is the distant horde of the million clowns. The worst thing is that no one knows. No one knows. To me, the fire horse is this.
Non è che potevamo far finta di essere due persone diverse, lui viaggiava in tutto il mondo, io vivevo a Roma con i miei figli, quindi sin dall'inizio abbiamo chiaro quello che era il nostro rapporto, che sarebbe che come potevamo vivercelo per renderlo duraturo e da lì il rapporto
But what we find on the ground is often completely at odds with picture that we may have received from the news and the newspapers.
You devoted your book to family,
Yeah.
the joys of being normal. Sort of talk about that experience.
I think maybe it was an unreasonable expectation. I tried. At one point, I was feeling really bad about being away from my daughter so much. And at one point, I came home exhausted. And I said, honey, I'm really thinking about, hanging it up maybe in a year or two. So I can spend more time with you. She burst into tears. She said, no, Daddy, your job is so interesting.
And we are back with 20 reasons why I believe the AE Gleason map is a shill psyop from the Freemasons. Right?
Yeah, this is what it is, right? Are we going to jump right into this? So this is the intro clip as to who Stinky Cash is and how he got his start. So quickly, I got my start in the truth movement because I was witnessing one of the sieges on Gaza, and I was pulled into, how could this war be happening in the Promised Land? And I quickly realized that it was all fake. And I found the truth movement, the We'll Do It Live crew. And you started off. What was your quick intro? Was it through Godlike? Was it Alex Jones?
Yeah, I did go through the Alex Jones camp. I was there. And then I did graduate into the Godlike Productions camp, where it's nothing but CIA shills everywhere.
Well, let's hear where Stinky Cash comes from.
Yeah, he's got quite the background. I wasn't expecting him to come out and say this, but he's going to tell us where he comes from. I just want to point out we got YouTube in the chat here. This is OG, coming from like the Bob Nodell days. Yeah. And
he was a globe buster, and he was a heavily promoted guy. Same with Scott with the wrench. These are guys that have been around since 2015, 2016, and the Nathan Oakley crew.
And yeah, never really taken a strong position on anything ever. Is
Fence-sitter.
Complete. But let's check this out. What
last piece of credit for YouTube, he was the one that played the video of the guy with the experiment with debunking the rotation.
Yes.
2 axis, right? Remember?
Yes.
He was the one who put so YouTube did do a couple of good things in his day. I will give credit where it's due.
Yeah, there is a video clip that's in our, it was the biggest flat versus globe debate ever to take place. And in our presentation, there is the clip where it shows how a rotating circle with a marker on it going up against a glass wall, how you can clearly see that there is acceleration and deceleration with a spinning circle if you have a point on the outside of it. It's fantastic. I love that you shared that, and we still use it to this day. But check out these, Stinky's gonna say some crazy stuff right here. Check this out.
Bones. And that all leads to the Federal Reserve and the Rothschilds and the State of Israel. And I fell down a rabbit hole in the year 2014 that you would not believe. And by the end of the year, I had decided to travel to Israel, pretending to be a Jew, pretending to be a Zionist Jew.
Traveled to Israel, pretending to be a Zionist Jew? How is that even possible?
Oy vey, can you the birthright?
What do they call that trip, brother? Isn't that
birthright, Aliyah? So they believe that every person in the whole entire realm, if you can prove that you're of a Jewish descent, or Ashkenazi or Sephardic, whatever, they fly you there and they take you to all the indoctrination camps, and you become an Israeli Zionist agent. And characters in the past like David Koresh and everybody knows Waco, right? Guess what? Before he started Waco, he went to Israel. He did the Aliyah too, birthright trip. No more news. He did the trip there. I don't think he did the birthright. He went with Jake from Morphonias or whatever, Mormon guy. But listen, everybody,
Paul Begley, all these guys.
Oh, there's so many guys that do the birthright. You basically go there and they give you your papers. You begin to shill for them.
That's how they do it, and this is what he's talking about. Let's hear more.
I traveled to Israel undercover. I was only awake for about 4 months, maybe 5 months.
That's quick.
And I traveled to Israel undercover pretending to be a friendly Jew. And I observed them and I filmed them and I recorded them and I got as much dirt on them as I possibly could. And then I came home and I started making videos about them, about the Zionist cult I was dragged into. And you can find those videos on my channel.
He was dragged into a Zionist cult.
Birthright Israel exposed.
Birthright.
Yep.
Exposed.
10 days I spent undercover in the belly of the beast.
Woo.
No weed for 10 days, riding a bus with a rabbi, an Israeli soldier, several Israeli soldiers, an Israeli propagandist, and 40 Jews.
Imagine that.
Including him.
Yep.
One of the 40 Jews.
Well, he gave up his weed for 10 days to do that.
Oh, they got weed.
40
there,
young, impressionable Jews. I had to ride a bus around the country with these fucks. And I had to pretend to be a Zionist. I bit, can you imagine Stinky Cash biting my tongue for 10 straight days through all the Zionist bullshit? Do you know how badly I wanted to just... And I just had to keep my mouth shut. Because if I got caught, not only would it have cost me about $5,000, it would have...
So, like you're saying, it's like a $5,000 trip.
That's not cheap.
Yeah, so he would have, if he got caught going against them, he would have had to have paid his way.
Paid the money back.
cost me my life.
Ooh.
Hold on a second. Pause. Do you know how hypocritical this is? Stinky? Something smelling stinky. Listen, if you went there and you were afraid for your life, what makes you think that some Jew couldn't pay some mob guy to come and knock you off when you got back to New York or wherever it is that you were living at the time? But you're safe now? As soon as you got back to the good old US of A, you felt like you start infiltrating the Jewish communities with a blowhorn, and he spray painted everybody. Listen, this is how I remember him coming on the scene. He was driving around in Jewish communities in his SUV. He had a truck. And on the sides of his truck, he spray painted the Jays did 9/11. And he was going around yelling at Sephardic and Ashkenazis with his megaphone, yelling at them and promoting Eric Dubé nonsense. Right? That's what he was doing. Right after, it turns out, he did his birthright trip.
Aliyah? Is that what they...
Yeah, Aliyah. I mean,
Aliyah.
going home, back to the promised land. That's what they do. It's all part of being connected with the Zionist group. I mean, it's literally the worst possible way you could start a truth movement is to say that you went and did the you know what thing, naming the you know what.
The birthright trip. The birthright.
I mean, of all the people, and it gets even worse, everybody. He's not done yet. There's even more. He's the double J. Right? He's not just the one J. He's got another J coming.
Here it comes.
Yo, well, I'm kind of Jewish by blood, but I was raised Catholic. My family hasn't been Jewish for several generations.
So
He's a Jazzy J.
he wasn't the JJ. He was the other J, the Jesuit J. So they didn't identify as being Jayish. They were Catholic. So this is one of the things that Ronnie and I have talked about for a long time, how the Jays didn't pick themselves up and put themselves in the promised land. A group of people orchestrated the whole thing, and that was the Vatican. So the Vatican has specific groups of secret societies like the Freemasons, the Jesuits, the Rosicrucians, the Knights Templars, the Knights of Malta. There's literally like thousands of secret societies that are all formulated and orchestrated through the Vatican. Plus, you have all the atheists, which actually report to the Vatican because they made up heliocentrism, and the only way you can believe that there is no creator is to believe that you came from a big bang. So you have all the Satanists, the atheists, the agnostics, and all the secret society people all are controlled by the Vatican. And the most name brand version of that all is to just call yourself a Catholic. And so he's identifying himself as a Catholic before being a Jew. I guess it was like a secret or hidden. They were crypto Jews while they were Catholic. But then he's going to talk about his mom coming up here. So let's check it out.
I'm Lebanese Catholic, but I guess if you go further enough back in the Lebanese history, I mean, I'm pretty sure they're Jewish. But I was raised Catholic.
Hold
My
on,
mom
you're
is a
not
Lebanese.
allowed to do. You're not allowed to do the birthright trip if you're not blood birthright. It's his birthright, they said, right? Yeah, and the Lebanese people are the same, right? They can. It was Lebanese, Armenian, Palestinian, Ashkenazi, Sephardic. They all supposedly say that they get to own that piece of land there.
Devout Catholic. My mom is like jihadi Catholic.
Wow.
Throw in the
I've never even heard that term before, but I get it. Jihadi Catholic.
wow.
He's going to explain it too.
My mom is so Catholic. If the Pope asked her to go on a suicide, bombing mission, I think she would do it.
Whoa.
She is just
Jihadi
goes to
Catholic.
church on every Sunday, but also just a bunch of random days. My mom will go to church on like a Wednesday. Yes, I was Baptist. I was baptized in the Holy Roman Catholic Church, and then I was diddled by the priest when I was an old. No, I'm just kidding. But
Whoa. Why would he even say that?
Yeah, well, and that's not his only allusion to it. So if you listen to his whole hangout, which is ridiculously long, for 20 reasons, he went almost 3 hours. And the amount of times that he talks about being gay within this is...
And smoking his vape, getting high, it's fine. You want to do whatever, but it's very unprofessional. And what he's doing is Tavistock subliminal programming, trying to make you feel like he's just one of us. That's why he was saying, I couldn't smoke weed on my birthright trip. It's like, how stupid do you think we are, man? Like, you couldn't find some weed there. There's tons of weed in Israel, okay? It's it's crazy that he would even say that, but here he goes. That's what he's saying.
I know. Well, the title could have been 20 Reasons Why I Believe the A.E. Gleason Map and 80 Reasons Why I Might Be Gay. Because, I mean...
A lot of that stuff. Gross. Why would that even make it into your podcast?
Yeah. All right. So that is the setup. We have here a Catholic Jew, right? He's got the birthright. They did the Aliyah trip. They brought him to Israel, I guess for free.
Yeah, they fly you there. They pay for it all too, and put you up, and they take you to all the different landmarks, and they build that, Zionism in you.
And then he came back, and he's a flat earther now, right? So that was his mission given to him by the Vatican.
First, he was an anti-J advocate, and then he became a flat earther, a fake one.
Was there anything else left in this section here?
No, it was the next section where he goes through the points.
Okay. So, yeah, this is him talking about himself.
That's his intro. How he became in the truth movement. He researched JFK, then he instantly did the birthright trip, then he came back and he was calling out the Jays, and then he became a flat earther. That's his whole story.
Yeah, because his video is so long, we don't have the time to go through and play his words for all 20 points. What we have here is a section of the video where he's going to go through a summary of his 20 points. So we'll get the list, and then we'll be able to go through and debunk each one of these. But not only does he give the list for the video right here, but this is where he tries to come against me.
He's coming at you, bro.
He came at me, and I find it so funny because
It's hilarious.
because the 20 reasons he has, I mean, are things that we've been debunking for the last 7 years. We could just
gone. He's been gone off the scene, and we've been over and over going over all these points. We can do this.
We could just pull this out of a Friday afternoon and be like, all right, let's respond, right?
Yeah, easily. Point for point. Let's go.
So here's the list, and here's the way he brings us up. It's me, but it's us. Let's check it out.
Him and his dog. We'll pull one more thing. I just want to point something out. When you see guys like Jeff Berwick with his dog Lucy, when you see anybody and they're constantly using their dog, I'm telling you, they are using Tavistock programming against you. What these shills do, what these agents do, is they play the sympathy card through the animals, right? And if you look at the thumbnail, the dog looks sketched out, does not look comfortable, looks paranoid. He's constantly yelling at the dog. This guy's, I don't even want to say it, but, you know, I don't think he should have a dog. But he's using the dog, the Stinky Cash, his dog's named is Stinky Cash. So you got to see these guys in the way that their tactics work. They pull you in to think, oh, he's a great guy. Look, he's got a shepherd dog, and you know he's got to be a truthful guy.
Yeah, well, he's supposed to be tech guy, but here he is. He's just filming from a tablet. Like, this is
8200 didn't teach him how to screen share with an actual computer setup, like even a iMac or a laptop or something. No, what is this? Like a tablet?
Yeah, he's
like an old one.
Yeah, this is low quality, brah. Let's check it out.
Super low.
And then, of course, United Nations logo was on the bottom. That's all 20.
Oh.
20 reasons why I believe in this way to the firmament is from Argentina.
There you go.
To rotate this, because I do think it found Admiral Byrd. It wasn't.
Let's get to
He's
the
also
list.
saying that that's the map, and there's a larger dome around it, and there's more land outside the ice. Right, but continue here.
No. Yeah, it could be a dome on an infinite plane, but the fact is that there has to be
A dome on an infinite plane. Yes, it's enclosed, but it's open forever. After you took a big weed hit, I mean, do you really think that those kinds of thoughts fly? A dome on an infinite plane?
a dome.
Dead air.
Dead air. Come on. Say something.
He's hitting
Smoking.
Now,
Smoke it
they
up.
tell us so many lies. How do we know Antarctica is really ice?
It's a little bit hot. Turn it down a tad.
How do we know it's really ice? How do we know it's really as harsh as they claim?
So hold on. Let me get this straight for the audience. He claims that we're surrounded by an ice wall, but now he's saying that it might not be ice.
Yeah.
Right? The ice wall contains the waters, but it might not be ice.
Yeah. It could actually be marshmallow.
Is there going to be another circling sun heating up the
Cheese.
other side of the ice wall? Something else that you can't prove?
Could be cheese.
Seems like everything's a freaking lie.
Everything that Stinky Cash says is a lie. Yes.
He came to drop seeds of disinfo? Yeah, maybe. Possibly.
Yeah, Admiral Byrd in the chat they're referencing is an absolute Freemason.
And then, of course, United Nations logo was on the bottom. That's all 20.
Here it goes. He's going to start now.
20 reasons why I believe in this map. We've got the solar analemma, the fact that it's not symmetrical and that it's much
Pause.
wider on the bottom.
Boom. Okay, let's get into this. Pull up the first tab, Jason, and take it away. I'm ready when you're done.
All right.
That was his intro. Let's talk about the solar analemma.
Absolutely. And to visualize this, we go to the Andrew Marsh site, which is a 3D sun path modeling software that gives you a third-person perspective where you can see outside of the path. Now, this is nothing that you could ever actually see in reality because you as the observer will always be that little point right down there, right? Looking up at the sun above you. But with this, you have the ability to 3D visualize it. And you can set this to any day of the year. And so you have 4 key days. You have the equinoxes and you have the solstices. And when you set the time here, all right, right now we're at noon. If you run the date, if you were to take a picture of the sun once every single day at 12 noon, you would get a picture that traces this shape right here. And that shape right there is called the analemma, right?
Yeah.
You see that path right there?
Mm-hmm.
The only way you would ever see this path is if you were taking a picture at the same time of the day, each and every day of the year. But this location, everybody, is right in your circle of sight. Right, this is based on your latitude and longitude. If I drag this farther south, it's going to be up in the sky like this. If I drag this farther to the north, it's going to be lower in the sky like this. But that path is around you, the observer, anywhere on Earth, and that path right there is called the analemma. And the only way you can justify this path like this is us being in a virtual reality. Right? This can't be caused by the sun being 3,000 miles up doing circles overhead. Because that creates completely different shadows. If you look at the way the shadow is cast here, this sun is casting shadows on these buildings. If I change the time of the day right here, it is showing where the shadow will cast. And so the sun has to be like 10.57 degrees up right here.
Above the ground.
And then it...
Not 3,000 miles, but we'll get to that when we go to SketchUp.
Yeah, and then it creates these shadows like this, right? That's...
You're getting a little bit ahead. What I want to take it back to, Jason, is so Stinky Cash's proof, his number one reason on his list that the Earth is a Gleason's AE map is because the bottom half of the analemma is wider than the top half. Okay, and let's explain to people in real simple terms. Okay, I need to calm down because I don't want to start map-splaining because I've been doing this for like almost 10 years. The analemma is a star trail of the sun's position at midday every day for a year. And what happens is as the sun traverses from the first gate to the last gate, remember that Andrew Marsh tool that we're looking at, when Jason zooms in, there's 6 regions. In the Book of Enoch, written over 5,000 years ago, he outlined how on each side of the horizon, one's on the east and one's on the west, the sun rose and set out of 6 gates. Okay, so that is how the sun rises. Now, the speed that the sun travels throughout the sky is always 24 hours to back over your head every single day. But as it goes from the first gate to the 6th gate on the outside, there is a different speed. And as it traverses beyond the equator or the center of the analemma, it slows down, which is actually the opposite. Let's bring up the SketchUp now. If the sun was doing circles over an AE map model, the analemma would actually have to be, the sun would have to travel faster, not slower. Okay, the reason why it's a wider circle in the south part of the analemma is because the sun actually has to go slower through those gates, not in the sky. I explained to you, everybody, 24 hours, the sun is above your head. Every single day at the same time, 24 hours, the sun crosses the same spot. But as it traverses between the tropics of Capricorn and the tropics of Cancer, back and forth from 1st to 6th gate, it slows down. That's why you have a larger path. It has nothing to do with the outside of this. Listen, everybody, this map that we're looking at here, that Stinky Cash thinks is reality, all this is a distorted, perverted globe that's been squished, and the south part of the globe has been spread out to the outside. And that's why you can track the sun, because the sun still travels along the equator's path, right? But it doesn't circle above in your head. Listen, everybody, if the sun circled above in your head, never setting, you would know that there wouldn't be a debate. Okay, the Earth was created in such a way that the Great Deception was able to happen, and that it was your heart condition discerning the truth that would actually lead you. Just like the parabolic language, you don't learn to understand it unless you have a good heart and you do the research. So again, what Jason's showing here on this map, if the sun was moving further out, it would actually be going faster. It would have to. It would have to speed up to crazy speeds just to match. And guess what, Jason? What happens in a reciprocal north versus west, sun speed and time of the year reciprocal?
Yeah, so the closer you get to the equator, it slows down. And then from the equator, the farther you go north, it slows down. And the farther you go south, it slows down. Yes. It's apparent travel as far as solar noon location from place on Earth to solar noon location, place on Earth. That speed slows down as you go south of the equator. And so because the outside path, the Tropic of Capricorn, would be, that much larger, the sun would have to be traveling faster in order to get all the way around in 24 hours. But yet we see the speed actually slow down as you go south. All right, that's
so go back to Andrew Marsh real quick.
It's a debunk right there.
Yeah, debunk AE map. The first thing that he's got on there is completely backwards, right? The analemma is only because the sun's going slower. That's it. And not overhead slower going towards the outer tropic. Sorry, Stinky Cash. You are wrong.
And so these programs, right, that model this up, actually show you that the speed of the sun is always exactly the same around the observer all the time. The amount of time that the sun is above the ground depends on the day of the year, because this path right here, as it goes away from you, right, if you're the observer right here down at the center, as the path of the sun goes away from you, less and less of the sun is above the horizon, so you have shorter days. And then as the sun comes back overhead and is north of you, then you have the largest path of the sun above the horizon, and you have the longest days. But the speed of the sun going around the observer is always the same. And that's, once again, one of the easy debunks of the Freemason New World Order pressurized pizza dome.
Let's go to his point number 2.
We've got the length of twilight, the fact that it's a much shorter and quicker in the south in the winter. We have flight.
All right.
So first off, he's straw manning that, right? Because if you really want to know, you need to look at the daylight hours in the south and the north reciprocally. But we can look at how you want to line this up.
Yeah. So let's
talk about twilight.
Yeah, let's keep it simple. Let's go with let's go with the summertime. We'll go June 21st. We're at 30 degrees north latitude. And so we're at peak summer here, and we've got
14 hours of daylight, it says.
14 hours of daylight. And then this chart over here, the light blue area is daylight. And then we have astronomical twilight, nautical, and civil. So there's 3 different bands out here, and these are the twilights. Now, I'm going to move us around on the map so that you can see how this changes from the north to the south. But understand right here that these would look like, I can't say parallel because they're curving, but they seem to be relatively equally spaced lines. But you can see that there's a sharper curve on this side and then a less sharp curve on this side. Then you have the less sharp curve here, and you have the sharper curve here. So the way this works is when you run the time of day here, you can see that right here, there's your sunset, right? And then you have your civil, your nautical, and your astronomical twilights, and then it's darkness. All right, so
there's 14 hours of daylight on June 21st. Now we need to go 6 months into the future, and we need to go 30 degrees south and look at the 2 differences. So that everybody can see, which Stinky Cash is not showing you. All he's doing is flapping his gums. Oy vey, he's just talking about, give me my nickel or my penny back. I'm a fake flat earther and I need to be paid. Everything during his site, he literally goes into his own page and he has to sit through 2 ads on his own content. He's got to sit through ads. He doesn't actually take you to the software and show you the data. He never will, because he's an absolute agent shill.
Yeah, so here we are now at 30 degrees south. We're in South America. I moved us over onto land here.
But it's 6 months difference. So one you're going to do in the summer. Now you need to go to the southern 6 month reciprocal when it's in its summer.
Absolutely. I just wanted to point out that now look at the way we're seeing the analemma. We have the fat end on the top as opposed to the small end being away from us. And then you can see that the curve, it's really the reciprocal of what it was in the north. And so, like Ronnie said, we're going to go out 6 months. So we'll go to December 21st. We'll move ourselves back into...
So this is the southern summer solstice, right, everybody? As opposed to what everybody in the north sees as the summer solstice in the north, which is 21st of June. This one's 21st of December.
yeah, so you
You
can...
can see here, look at daylight time. 14 hours, identical amount of daylight. Listen, that's impossible on the AE map and model. Debunked right there. It's the same. Stinky Cash is trying to tell his audience that it's so different that they have to lie, he said, right? But absolutely, they're identical. Look at the times: civil, nautical, and astronomical, right? They're the same.
Yeah, so the twilights are all the same. Now, one of the things that you'll see is that if we drag this a little bit farther, you'll see the way this starts to skew out. You can see these big curves where you get larger zones of civil, nautical. You see how they're not quite as parallel or equal distant as they were before. Now they're becoming inflated. If I drag this back up north, you'll see here at the equator, they're going to be the most flatlined you get, but it's still, you still have a wave here, right? And then if we take this up north, you see how all of a sudden your twilights skew off the chart.
Reciprocally.
Yep. And these are the areas where you're going to get the midnight suns, right? You're going to have
We'll get to that.
civil twilight through the night.
We're not at that section yet.
Yep.
So we're showing, again, Stinky Cash is number 2. Twilight zones are supposedly, times are different from the south to the north. Well, actually, no. When you go and search the data and actually look at the recordable, observable evidence, they are the exact reciprocal as each other. Not at all what would happen on that fake AE Pizza Dome map.
Flight paths coming up.
Yep.
Flight paths, the fact that they all go in straight lines on the AE map and none of them connect through the south.
So pause it. So you can absolutely, I think you've got a page open. You can absolutely chart these, and you can do the research yourself, and you're going to find out that it is beyond incorrect at how badly the times would actually be.
All right, so this is real simple. This is one of these memes that supposedly is debunking flat Earth, but all it's debunking is the Freemason New World Order pressurized pizza dome PSYOP, fake flat Earth. So it says the flight route of Sydney to Santiago is one of the most southernmost passenger flights. If laid out on the flat Earth map, no, that's the PSYOP. This route should go over the United States. So he's talking about the flight routes. This is
Straight line. Stinky
straight
Cash
line.
said that the paths are all straight lines, right? Well, it has to go over LA to get to Sydney.
Yeah, I mean Houston. It's going over the Gulf here. It's going over the Yucatan Peninsula. It's going over Central America. It's going. It's going over Seattle, on its way to Sydney, right? This is the straight line that's actually north of the intersection of Los Angeles.
When you actually add up, so the AE flat map that they've created, they call it the flat map when it's just a PSYOP. It's like between 60 and 70,000 miles around the outside. Listen, there's nothing in this realm that's been measured longer than 24,000 miles. That's the length of time it takes the sun to cross again above your head. But what this is showing, it says that the Santiago to Sydney traveling trip should take 25 and a half hours. When in actuality, even Max Egan did the flight, and the flat earthers will say, well, his compass was saying south-southwest. It's not about his compass. That was all nonsense. It was about the time, and it only took 13 hours and 22 minutes to do the trip.
That's the big thing, and it's real simple, everybody. The way you do it is Santiago to LA, 11 hours, 5 minutes. LA to Sydney, 14 hours, 25 minutes. All right, so 11 hours, 5 minutes, 14 hours, 25 minutes. That's 25 hours, 30 minutes right there.
And it only takes 13 and a half hours to do the trip. Max Egan did it himself.
That's it. Yeah. So this is not working in the Stinky's favor.
That's just one. Imagine you went the other way. We could go more and more, but let's keep going.
The fact that the zodiac is a circle with Polaris at the center.
Oh.
Let's pull that up. What about this?
No, yeah.
What about the southern constellations?
So I am a huge fan of the southern constellations. There's a cross. It's called the Southern Crux, right? You can easily discern Triangulum Australia. That's a triangle in the sky, which I'm not into. I'm not into that. But the crux. So there's an actual cross, a cross in the sky that circles. It circles the octans region there in the center, and it actually goes clockwise, right? This is something that Stinky Cash can't model, doesn't show his audience, and he's trying to tell you that the zodiac works because he's only able to represent what's happening on the equator. And again, I told you the Gleason's map is a flattened, squished globe, and the sun supposedly we're supposedly traveling around with the sun around the equator. So it still does work when you put only the constellations that are on the ecliptic path. As soon as you try to show anybody, they go and say that they don't even believe in these constellations. Stinky Cash doesn't even think they're real. He's not going to tell you what Triangulum Australia is or the octans. He's not going to tell you about the Southern Crux, because these are actually traveling, circumnavigating. He literally strawmanned the argument to saying that all the stars spin around Polaris, except this entire region of stars here in the southern part of the map actually circle clockwise around the Octanus zone. And you do also have, boom, Stellarium, everybody. Come on. If anybody is out here trying to tell you truth, trying to tell you this is why they believe what they believe, and they don't actually show you their visible, repeatable evidence, run from that agent.
Yeah, let's go ahead and take this back a little ways. Let this run.
You see everybody? He's going backwards. That's how the stars in the north rotate. If you go, and they're not up above our heads parallel, it's a vertical wall that we're looking at. And depending on your location, octans rises higher or lower in the sky, but everything's traveling clockwise around Octanus. You see that right there? Octans. You see that region? It's a black void region in the center. It's at 180 degrees south. All of these constellations are circling around that, and it absolutely doesn't work. There's two poles in the sky, right? So listen, you're on a flat plane, okay? Earth is measurably and observably flat. Water itself and the properties of how they level out. You have sea level. Shows you that you're on a flat map. But the sky and the heavens are actually spherical. There's a sphere that are rotating around each one of us in our own circles of sight, okay? And this is how you can see when you travel lower than south on the equator on the flat Earth, sigma octans, if you could bring up the map, it'll start to rise above the horizon. Jason, if you go a little bit north and show everybody how the octans is lower, and the further south you go, the higher up that octanus region is going to rise in the sky, okay? And as you go further south, this is how we navigate. Listen, if we didn't have this in the south, you wouldn't be able to navigate in the south regions, okay? And when you get to the north, we use Polaris. Down here, see how it's low now? You can't see octanus, right? You're too far north.
Yep.
You can't see it. If you spin around, oh, look at that. There's Polaris right there. We can see the other part of this spherical circle that has the stars contained on it.
Then I'll start going back south.
And what you'll see is now Polaris is going to drop. When you get to the equator, both are going to be on the horizon. It's low. Now, when you spin around south, excellent work here, Jason, on the working in the program. There's the equator we just passed. Now we're looking, now you can see octans. You see that dot there? That's the second pole in the sky, which the AE map, and actually the only map in reality that has two polar points on it, is the virtual reality stereographic Team Yahawashai map that we'll bring up after this. Look, you can see that those stars are rotating around octans. Hit play again, please, Jason. Excellent job. I hope everybody on the other side of the screen can understand exactly what we're showing. picture a giant sphere of stars rotating around the flat Earth, but it's not on a grand scale. It's supernatural in nature. Each one of us.
Your circle of sight.
So each one of us has this circle. Because let's say if you go to the AE map for a second, you have SketchUp. I'm gonna take it here and then we'll move on. I know I'm monopolizing all the time. So we're in Canada now. I want to zoom in on Canada if you could, please. Take it to close to where I'm from, lower than Hudson's Bay here. This is where I am. Okay, listen. At nighttime, when I look north, okay, I see the Polaris and the stars that are in the sky. If we were living on an AE map model world, I would have to look through Russia, through the sunlight to get to the other side of the dome. That is not how this reality works. That sun goes under the ground. When you point to where I would think that South America is, or where I would think that Africa is on this map, it is absolutely as far from the truth as you could possibly be. None of that matches reality. None of it's a measurable, observable, anything.
Yeah, so Ronnie is saying that if he was down here on the ground to see the stars that were north of him but low to the horizon, he would have to be looking through the daylight of Russia and seeing the dome on the other side.
If the sun was circling 3,000 miles up in this fake, ridiculous reality. And back to his original point again, is that, what was this point again? The flight paths?
Oh,
That
it
where we're at?
Polaris.
Polaris. And unfortunately, he should have brought Sigma octans up, and that debunks his Polaris observation. Again, how many points are we going to go through?
We'll see. We got the next one.
The way compasses work, the way circumnavigation.
Oh, slow down.
So compasses, right? So I you know that I got this one set up because I did a whole video about Stinky Cash. Stinky Cash says there's no such thing as a compass on the flat Earth, and everything points to Polaris, he says. When in actuality, okay, compasses point to magnetic north, right? And then when you're in different regions, listen, in fact, manufacturers of compasses have customized them for 5 separate geographical zones. Magnetic compasses used by explorers of the American West are weighted for use in only North America. Listen, all of the needles of the compasses, not because you're under the ball or anything like that, have to be weighted differently in different geographical zones. There's not just one Stinky Cash where it just doesn't work in the South. Do you know how ridiculous that is? There's 5 different geographical zones in the world where you have to put a stronger or weaker magnet and weight. You have to balance the needle correctly. And that's not because we live on a sphere. That's ridiculous. It's because of the way that the magnetics are actually set up. And our map actually explains that.
Yeah, so also the magnetic declination. So you do have to adjust for magnetic declination where you're at, because you're not always, Polaris isn't always true north for you, right? That's the reason why you have to adjust for it. So these types of maps, the things that they show, we're going to show in the south and in the north, but you actually go from you go over here,
Positive west to positive east.
so you're going positive east, going across here.
It's telling you right there, 81, 28, 82, 52.
Boom.
Boom. There's your flip. 82, 44. Look at that jump.
Yeah, so it flipped right here. And then the other...
You're going from west to east Antarctica. And our map, again, explains this perfectly.
And then if you're going this direction over here, you'll see that get across this bay. And all of a sudden, boom. You got
flip again, because you've gone back to west to east Antarctica.
And the same is true up here. So when you move across up here, you're going from negatives.
Negative what?
Where is it?
Comes the flip.
There.
It's the exact same reciprocally. And this
Yeah.
is what you'd expect in a virtual reality. Now, can you bring our map up again? Please. Stereographic virtual reality map.
Yeah, it is.
There's the Stinky Cash points. Here you go. Okay. Listen, everybody. Here's your 2-pole. This is the most accurate landmass that was ever created. It's not me saying that. It was the creators and cartographers that made this. Okay. Jason and I didn't invent it. Okay. So you have Eastern on the left and Western Antarctica. You have Eastern on the left and you have Western Antarctica on the right. The lines that you see that are swooping, right? Those are your lines of latitude that run up and down, and your lines of longitude, and the lines of latitude run parallel to that, crossing them. Okay. And as you go from that one spot, so both of these sides, when you follow the lines down, you're going to go 180 degrees south. When you get to that point and you cross it, your compass flips.
Flip.
It's just that easy. And the same thing happens in the north. And that's why people don't fly their planes or sail their boats near the poles, because it's almost impossible to navigate, because all of a sudden your compass tells you that you're going backwards now.
Yeah, think about that trip. So let's say you want to fly from Australia, you want to fly across Antarctica, and you want to come up into South America over here, right? You want to fly across Antarctica. So as you're flying and you're aiming for that southern pole, you're going to get to a point where all of a sudden your compass is going to flip, where all of a sudden, boom, you're flying and your compass says
South.
It just flipped. Like now all of a sudden your destination was behind, is behind you. So then if you were to turn around and fly back to that spot, you would fly across that spot and all of a sudden, boom, it would flip again. And then if you turned around and flew back across the spot, it would flip again. You wouldn't know which direction you were going to get out of this unless if you could celestially navigate.
That's right, with using the stars. Now, I don't know if this is the time period where you'd like to bring in stereographic virtual reality video to further the point. What happens when you actually cross the boundaries of the map, which is called the time and date line.
Yeah, so this is that video, Stereographic Virtual Reality Explained. We're at almost 38 minutes in the video, and you can see that we have East and West Antarctica on the screen right here. Here's our dividing line of the 0 and 180 degrees. You can see how this goes across where there's that bay, the Ross Ice Shelf. That all does line up on the map that we're using. So go ahead and watch how these are split onto the map, and then we're going to watch how a plane flies across the boundaries. What could we predict by looking at this map and model that we would be able to test as far as traversing from one side of the map to the other if we were crossing Antarctica? Well, we would expect that when we crossed 180 degrees longitude either direction, that compasses would flip. While I've never been to Antarctica to test this for myself, I do know that magnetic declination maps show a 180 degree flip right where it's expected. Alright, so you can pull up the websites, but this is where the flip is. We were going across that magnetic declination website, and this is where the flips take place. The only thing that changes when you cross the boundaries is that you need to adjust. Alright, so this is going to be this image. We could use this one coming up on one of his...
Yeah, we'll get to that point.
Yeah, he's going to talk about time zones, so remember this image, everyone. Adjust your time one day ahead or behind depending on the direction you are traveling.
Here's the only place I know of where you get a second chance in life. The International Date Line. Cross it, and you get to spend yesterday all over again.
If you are flying from Honolulu to Sydney, the flight time is roughly 10 hours and 50 minutes. a flight departing at 1 p.m. arrives in Sydney at almost 8 p.m. the next day. The flight time from Sydney to Honolulu is an hour shorter at 9 hours and 50 minutes, and a flight leaving Sydney at 9:40 p.m. arrives at 11:30 a.m. the same day. You can see why this is the case by placing two of these maps side by side, so that you can see sunrise coming towards you as you are heading west. The plane is traveling roughly 500 miles per hour, depending on if they are riding a jet stream or fighting one, so it is traveling at roughly half the speed of the sun. So when we take off from Sydney and head to Honolulu in a straight path, we are doing what is called dead reckoning. Because heliocentrists have converted the stereographic map to a sphere and then made projections from a sphere, navigators have to use room lines on their maps to dead reckon, whereas they are straight lines and the most direct route on a stereographic map.
Pause it. So I need to really slow it down and repeat what you said. So while Stinky Cash was gone from the Flat Earth movement, Jason was out here just pounding his way through knowledge, evidence, and information. The stereographic map, if you can bring our map up again, we'll come back to this. I want to show everybody. Now, on the AE map and model, you can't project room lines correctly. This is the map, okay? So it was C.S. Pierce, right, in 1874? Am I right? Was it
94.
1894. Thank you. It's been a while since we've covered it. They already had this map. Okay. They sailed it. They knew this is the layout, right, of the actual landmass. And this is the only actual representable land map that you can also convert to a sphere. This is the only one. It has to have two poles, right? You have to have the North Pole at the top and then two half poles at the center, at the bottom, I mean. So those two become one pole when you wrap it around. So the Earth, we are stating, was created in such a way that you could have two deceptions. You could believe that you were on a ball, or you could believe that it was a flat plane. But the one thing that you couldn't do was try to prove that it was an AE pizza map with only one dome, with only one polar point.
Exactly.
Because there's a spherical of stars that rotate around us. So if you go back to your video again, Jason, to properly dead reckon, you actually, to draw a room line, which is a straight path, that this is absolutely the way that cartographers and navigators actually do it. They have to take it and put it on a stereographic projection. And then they have to measure. You see those lines of latitude and longitude, that little cross that's beside the plane? What you do is you take a compass. Stinky Cash will show you a compass, but he's not going to tell you how to use it. And you actually have to measure from that point to the plane's position, from those lines. And then you can start to collect different points all along this path. And then you actually use that to fly straight.
Mm-hmm. So here we are crossing the border and we see how sunrise is moving towards us. And as soon as we cross the border, we have now entered the previous day. So that's, you have your total length of flight, but because you were flying into the incoming or outgoing day of this day, right, because it was moving across the face of the earth this way, it appears like you landed just a couple of hours after you took off, right, even though you were flying the whole day, right?
Yeah, it's such an interesting, amazing reality that the creator created. For all glory to him. Yahawashai and Yahawashai.
Having the two maps side by side is just to show you the continuity. What was that?
Nah, I was done.
Okay. Continuity of sunrise and sunset. you actually have to be wrapping around and coming out through the side border at the same latitude that you left from. There is not a new world for every day. So here we come into Honolulu, and it actually now makes sense how you could land before you took off, even though you were flying for nearly 10 hours. Let's turn around and head back to... Oh yeah, you actually land before you took off. That's that's pretty cool, right?
Yeah.
Sydney now. Solar noon is still traveling away from us, even though we are also traveling west, because you are traveling at half the sun's speed. We wrap around our border, but as we come out, we are coming into the next day that has already begun for those in the east. Almost 11 hours of flight, and we are landing at 8 p.m. the next day. So we are talking 1 p.m. to 1 p.m. plus another 7 hours, so your watch makes it appear that you've been in the air for 31 hours. But it all makes sense in a virtual world where once you cross the border, you are now in a part of the world that has already experienced its next sunrise when you get there. When we were traveling from Sydney to Honolulu, we left before the day had ended in the east, and when we went across the border, we came into the same day that we had left. With a flight time of less than 12 hours, we actually arrived in Honolulu before we left Sydney. I know that's a bit of a mind bender, but it's a fun one to finally figure out because it can help you get rid of jet lag.
That's it.
Boom.
Great work, Jason.
Another thing you need to I would love to fly to Australia. That would be cool. I would do it, even though it's a long flight.
I think that is well made. If anyone has any questions, please, again, leave them in the comments below. If anyone in the chat has anything, we're still watching. We're going to continue on here. Soon we'll have the song break. Let's do a few more. What does he got next?
Let's see. I think he said compasses and then circumnavigation.
Yeah.
Works. The fact that there's no north-south circumnavigation happening in the real world, and that it's not possible on the flat Earth map, but it would be possible on a globe. So you would think people would be circumnavigating north.
We can just bring up the map real quick. So here's one where we actually have a question with Stinky Cash. I remember I said maybe some of them we kind of agree. We want to know, you see the prime meridian line that's green on our map? That's the path that Jason and I would like to investigate if we had the resources, if we had a Lear jet. We would absolutely take it because we don't believe that, like Pac-Man would suggest, that in between the tropics is the only place that supposedly the border loops. The entirety of the reality that we're in loops. At any angle or direction that you flying towards, you just simply fly out the other side. So we would believe that the shortcut that Mark Sargent said didn't exist would be going straight south along the prime meridian, and you should pop out over that would be eastern Russia.
Yep.
So nobody has that, right? We don't have any evidence of anyone flying south of Africa and popping up over eastern Russia. We would like that evidence too. Let's go on. So we already dealt with,
but we have talked about the dangers of flying or drive. Yeah, the poles, because once you got to the pole, like, you wouldn't know which way to go after that. You would be lost.
It would be tough.
Go back to his video.
And the next one's going to be that we're going to cover is time zone. You already covered
North south, no problem. The fact that magnetic declination exists and is so drastic in the south to basically
not.
convert.
No, we showed how it's the same in the north and the south. Exactly.
Reciprocally again, like his Twilight Times. He was again misrepresenting and lying to his audience. And remember, everybody, he's just reading to you these lists. He's not showing you any of the actual data.
And these are all Flat Earth Society talking points.
Yeah, and we're showing you the data of debunks of
The
time zones.
flat Earth reality into their make-believe globe. The fact that there are more time zones in the south than there are in the north, and they're not symmetrical.
Pause.
The fa-
Yeah.
You got the chart up, I think.
Yeah.
Is it there? No.
Here we go.
Let's have a look at the time zone maps. Oh, look at that. There happens to be what, 24?
Yeah.
Right? So for 24,000 miles, the sun travels 1,000 miles an hour. It takes 24 hours to cross above you. Listen, what do we see right off the top of the bat here? In the southern regions of the earth, there's far less land. Far less. I mean, maybe a quarter? There might be 75% of the world's population lives in the north of the equator, right? So you have less time zones because there's less Earth to actually stand on and take a time reading.
Well, the thing is the time zones are all basically equal in width, right? They're 15 degrees, 15 degrees, 15 degrees, 15 degrees. And then the problem is the pressurized pizza dome. What it has is it has everything coming down to a point
In the center, in the north.
So right here, the 15 degrees, I mean, like at the very, very center, the width of the time zone would be like less than a centimeter, less than a millimeter, right at the point, right? And then
Times walking in a circle, right? You're saying that it would be next hour, next hour, next hour, next hour, next hour, next hour, just doing a loop around. You'd be getting day and night, day and night, day and night as you did around that circle.
right, but then out here, right, you would be looking at distances of like, this would become like 3,000 miles.
Vast, huge ginormity. And that's what he's trying to say is reality, when in actual reality, we go back to the time zones.
Because we've done the calculations, and then the inside ring, if you were to sail around this ice wall, as the fake flat earthers call it, this would be like a 60,000 mile trip around here. But that's not all the way out to this edge. The 90 degree mark would be like 75,000 miles. So that would make the width out here 3,000 miles each one of these. And that's like the width of the United States or Australia. So obviously the sun can't be going faster out here. Then also have the longer days, have, the 14, 15, 16. Yeah. Then the farther south you go, you could have where the sun doesn't go, like,
We're not at that point yet.
yeah, we'll wait.
We'll get to that. But yeah, we just wanted to again point out that the time zones, go back to the time zone chart, please, before we finish this point. They are equal, 15 degrees of separation. Again, 24,000 miles. Each time zone is 1,000 miles wide. Did you disclose it by accident?
There it is.
Okay. 1,000 miles in between each time zone. There's 24 of them across the face of the earth, right? There's no psyop that they're trying to hide that you live on a pizza model with a dome over your head with the time zones. Stinky Cash, again, he is not showing you the time zone map. He's just saying that it has an inconsistency, and it's a bold-faced lie again.
Yeah, 1,000 miles wide, the whole top to bottom, right? It's not a pie wedge. It's 1,000 miles wide.
At the bottom.
No.
No.
Fact that the clock app works so perfectly, and we can use it to make predictions and to understand our sky so perfectly.
Go back to the AE map and model. So again, everybody, I'm going to explain this one more time. This is a sphere projection. A sphere projection is the stereographic map in reality that Jason is showing, ours, right? Converted to a ball. Then they've taken that ball that they've converted from a
stereographic virtual reality map with 4 corners on it, the one we show. They turn it into a ball. Now what they do is the bottom of the ball, they've ripped out and squished it and stretched the bottom of Antarctica, which is just a small continent that people circumnavigate all the time. Captain Cook did. We'll get to that. And they've created it on the outside of the ring, right? So they've stretched the ball out, and what you have is the equator, the green line at the center of the AE map model, where all the celestial equator is too, the ecliptic, right? Where all the constellations circle around, right? That ecliptical, and that is the path of the sun, but that is not the actual discernible path of the sun in reality. Okay, you would see multiple faces of the moon, right? Not just one. The moon, we only see one face. The sun, we only see one face. They're both two-dimensional objects. But the problem is that I would have to be looking through Russia. So just because you can plot the equator onto a clock has absolutely no relation to reality. Sure, you can use it because the stereographic map is turned into a globe, and then that globe is then turned into a Gleason's map. That's the only reason that you're able to do this. It is not verifying that you live on a pizza world where the sun is 3,000 miles up. You can literally see the sunset every single day and the light shine on the bottom of the clouds.
That's the major point. That's the major point. So this right here, if it's the hour hand, right, on a analog watch, if the sun's pointing to where it's at over the earth like this, the problem is that this sun in the Freemason New World Order pressurized pizza dome never sets. It's always 3,000 miles up. But the truth is,
measured here. Where's the triangle graphic that you had?
It's there.
Go ahead, show.
I just wanted to show everybody. But the truth is that the sun rises from Earth, right? It comes up, and you can see by the shadows that once it comes up, it's circling right around the observer, right? It does rise from the ground, goes up overhead, and it will set right back into the ground, be it dirt, be it water, right? Boom, right back into the earth. So you can have the sun in the clouds, you can have clouds behind the sun, you can have underlit clouds, you can have airplanes over the sun and the moon, right? And that's impossible in the Freemason New World Order pressurized pizza dome, because the sun and moon are always 3,000 miles up. If you take a look here, it's real simple mathematics, simple geometry, that from 45 degrees north latitude and from 45 degrees south latitude on the equinox, the sun is going to be spotted at 45 degrees. So then you have, you've created these triangles where you know that this distance from 45 north latitude to the equator is 3,000 miles. From 45 south to the equator is 3,000 miles. And then that means that this distance up is going to be 3,000 miles. That also puts Polaris and Sigma Octans out here at 3,000 miles up. That's simple geometry.
Simple. Everybody on Earth can actually verify this if you go to these locations and actually measure the sun. One other thing before we move on to that I wanted to point out really quickly is on the equinox, the sun travels across the sky completely straight, rising from 90 and setting 270. Right? So unfortunately, people that went out this last equinox, fortunately, they actually measured the shadows and it shows a completely straight path of the sun. It's not doing a right or left hand turn, but in the regular times of the year, for half of the year, the sun is doing a right-handed circle, and the other half of the year, the sun is doing a left-handed circle, completely going off the edge of the map. That's a straight path at the equator. It's not turning. You see that? Seth asked the shape of the Earth. It's more of an oblate rectangle than it is perfectly square. But to verify that, we would actually need to fly north and south.
Yep.
What point? I think we're almost ready for a song break.
Okay. All right, we can do that. Let's go ahead and take a break, and then we will be right back, and we will keep on debunking the Stinky. And we are back. We are with the Stinky going through his list of 20 reasons why he shills for the A.E. Gleason map. And so we got a few more points that we want to get through here. Let's go ahead and check here where we're at again.
And that the hour hand on that clock will literally point to the sun in the sky. The fact that Captain Cook went 60,000 miles around Antarctica.
Ooh, Captain Cook with the 60,000 miles. So we did drop that number earlier. That would be the distance around an ice wall, but I am highly skeptical of this. James Cook, Captain Cook, the CC is usually connected with the Royal Society. And the Royal Society is a Freemasonic organization, right? So all societies are Freemasonic organizations. They like that term. They call them societies. Cook is completely not. He's not credible. He isn't credible at all. And so this path. Okay, let's just say that he went out there and he tried to circumnavigate Antarctica, and he went out there and he started, once he got around New Zealand, he started doing loop-de-loos. Right? Okay. So, yeah, if you add a whole bunch of loop-de-loos, you could add up to 60,000 miles, even though the trip should not have taken that whatsoever. So, these are the lines of latitude. So we've got the equator being your 0, and then we have the 15, we have the 30, we have the 45, and we have the 60. So sailing around Antarctica south of the 60th latitude is not 60,000 miles. So this is a race that's done by sailboats on the regular, and it's not a 60,000 mile trip. That would be a monstrous trip, right? Because Earth's 24,000 miles wide, right? So it's double the width of Earth. No, it's not. So Antarctica is a real continent that you can get around much quicker than that 60,000 mile trip of the Cook. All right, so I don't know how much more there is to go through this. Let's go ahead and check out another point from Stinky.
Antarctica, the fact that the underwater cables don't connect through the south, they all connect through the north.
All right, so that's a big point for him. Let's go with the cables. Let's check it out. Underwater sea cables map. All right, when we check this out, what do we got? We don't really see the connecting from the south of America to the south of Africa to Australia. Let me see if I can find a better map here. Is this better? No, too tight. Let's get some better resolution. Come on. I want to see what's going on. Each one that has the layout that I want is low quality. Let's see what we can find here. Alright, this might be the best one we can find. Alright, so if you look here, you don't have from tip to tip to tip. Right? Everything comes up and across at roughly the equator. Right, so you've got the connecting points coming off of the equator right here. If we go to the map that we've been sharing, the stereographic map, that just means that these land masses, the cables come across in the most populated areas. Right, remember that at the extremes, when you go up to 60 degrees north latitude, it becomes uninhabited. You go into permafrost. You have areas where the ground never thaws out. You go down to 60 degrees south and you have the same thing. You have permafrost. The ground never thaws out. So you don't have crops growing. You don't have lakes filled with fish. You don't have any of that stuff because it freezes out. So the extremes of Earth are kept uninhabited because they're not good places to live. They're bad places to live. So the majority of people really are north of the equator, from 45 degrees north to the equator. Now we've got people south of the equator, but it's not nearly the population of the north. So the cables are for data, for connecting people. So it really does make the most amount of sense for the cables to be connecting where the people are at. And that is what you see in maps like this. Absolutely.
Well said.
Let's go to the next point.
The fact that Neil deGrasse Tyson's trying to say that the South is wider and bigger than the North, as it would be on the flat Earth map. The fact that the Pacific...
So go to the oblate stereographic projection, the Team Yahawashai. So it's not really fatter, but the ecliptic path and the sun's analemma, which is the speed from tropic to tropic, is slower. That's all, right? There's no paradness shape. There's no fatness shape. And the AE map only works. It doesn't work. There's no way that the outside is 60 or 70,000 miles in circumference, right? It's just ridiculous for anyone to even believe that. It's nonsense. It's not observable. It's not provable.
Well, he's saying because the AE map is literally bigger. It's bigger south of the equator. Like you have much more surface area. Like it's in volume.
But the tropics are the same length, right? So that just all you have to do is measure the tropics of Capricorn and Cancer, and you're going to find out that the AE map model again is debunked.
Absolutely. So he's saying it's fatter out here. But the problem with it being fatter is, like we've been talking about, the sun would have to be traveling faster, although the days are longer the farther the sun travels out here. So it's just, the model is so impossible. Every which way you look at it, it becomes more and more impossible.
Pacific Ocean is so big, and nobody has to fly over the Pacific Ocean. The fact that there's a total...
He says nobody has to fly over the Pacific Ocean. I mean, that's not true. The Santiago to Sydney flight is absolutely that trip where it goes from Santiago. It's going to go across here to Sydney. So yeah, you're flying across the Pacific. If you want to go to Hawaii, to China, if you want to go to Japan, like these are all trips that have to be done over the Pacific. And he's saying that it doesn't even make sense. He's just saying that because the Pacific is so big, it's proof that the AE map is real.
It's such a weird straw man. There's
it's like no cognitive connection to it.
It's really weak.
Total lack of symmetry in climate, weather, temperature, wildlife, the flora and the fauna, everything. There's no symmetry like there would be on a globe.
All right, so the symmetry, like we were showing, isn't perfect symmetry. Like even looking at the equator right here, you can see that the twilight times, that there is this wave throughout the course of the year, and then as you go farther north, you can see that your symmetry, this isn't perfect. There's a steeper slope on this side and a longer slope over here. If we come down to the south, we're going to see this isn't perfect symmetry.
No.
But that is the way it works. And then if you look here, the analemma is also an example of it not being perfect symmetry.
Yes, again.
Right? But this is what we witness.
The fact that our model is flat water with a container and your model is curved water with no container. The fact that you had to fake videos of the 24-hour sun.
Oh, here we go.
And of course, he's got to sit here with like doing the, pointing with the middle finger while doing the Freemason circle, 666 thing the whole time.
Yeah, so this is a very interesting topic. Okay, we've only witnessed or seen one video, I believe that was from roughly in Finland, I think, or where we actually think that the sun does stay. Now, the Andrew Marsh site, the virtual reality that we show, should actually have a sun that stays above the horizon. But what we actually have is not very much, if any, real evidence on both sides. We can't even show you there's like one. What was the creator of the one circling sun that everybody used from the north? Wilkes. It's just horrid. It's clearly really bad CGI. So both the north and the south have been caught faking the 24-hour up all day sun when there should be a mountain of evidence for it, right? And when you do the search on YouTube, Jason, I know you do, you can see for yourselves.
Well, I think we're at 17, the flat water container. So the container, he's pushing the pressurized pizza dome because he's saying that, you couldn't have air pressure against the vacuum of space, right? So he's falsely putting the pressurized pizza dome against space, as he's saying you have to have a container to have pressure. But the step that we just tell everybody to take it to is that once you have a container, you only have one pressure. Right? You don't have varying pressure within a container, and Earth has varying pressure all over the place. That's the reason why we have storm systems. That's the reason why we don't have trees and flora and fauna above 8 to 12,000 feet. Once you get to the top of Mount Everest at 30,000 feet, there's so little air that unless if you bring oxygen tanks along with you, you're going to die up there. Right? It's just not, it's not for humans. And that's because of the lack of pressure. So we can't be in a container. Right? You can't falsely go against space and say that we have to have a container.
So
space is made up. It's not real.
So how many tire gauge pressure checks are there on a tire?
Just
How many
one.
valve stems? There's just one. So when you pressurize a tire to its stated PSI that you need, right, it stays equal throughout the entire tire, right? Because you can put that valve stem anywhere. Mm-hmm. It's going to be the same. So disproving the fact that we live in a contained world, right? Because the pressure would be the same everywhere.
Absolutely. So we should be moving on to 18, I think.
Yeah, he said it.
The fact that the Gleason map exists.
Oh, he said it.
So now we're going to look at the 24-hour sun. It's one to the left. Nope, one to your left. Two to your right. Three to your right. No, you had it. From the left of the tab that you're on.
I don't know what what are you asking for?
Where your tab is that we're on at the top here of your tab.
Yeah.
It's the link you have set up to the left of it. One to the left. There you go. Now we're going to talk about
this is the video.
24-hour.
His video.
Oh, where's the 24-hour sun?
This one.
Two to the left. So this is the most interesting part of our entire podcast right here. The quandary. What's the smartest? What's the best way to talk about this, Jason?
Not quite sure. We've been studying to see whether or not the footages that we've seen are CGI or real. So it's a matter of looking at what's predicted. So the Andrew Marsh site shows us, based on a latitude and longitude, what type of a path you would be expecting. So as I continue to drag this farther south, you'll see at a certain point here, this yellow line is staying above the horizon here. And that would mean that on the longest day of the year, right, if we bring that ring up like this to the 21st for the south, that on that day, the sun would actually not set. Right? It would stay above the horizon. So it's been shielded for heavily in the north and the south. Some people say it's only in the north and it doesn't take place in the south. But what we're showing here is that, so we're at 68.77 degrees here. You can see that this would be a location that we would expect the sun to stay above the horizon. If we bring this up to the 68.77 north, keep going here, 68 point, right around, getting close there.
And it's under the earth just as far. You have to go up to June 21st, right?
Yeah, we're 6 months out, so we'll take this to the June 21st. Now this is the path, the longest path, and you can see it's exactly the same. Exactly the same. So based on this modeling, when we look at footage of what's supposed to be a 24-hour sun, we see whether or not it follows the same path that
I want to mute that.
yeah, this just looks like CGI.
All of it from both sides
Yeah.
looks fake, and there should be an abundance of
But
evidence here.
this one right here might actually be the real one. This is the one that we came across recently. That if you follow the path,
The one we were looking at one in Finland. I thought. I don't think it was an Alaskan observation. It was a Finnish one.
no, it was this Tulik field station.
Okay.
Yeah, we looked it up and it had
Sure.
the actual buildings on the side here and this lake here.
You're recalling it. Yeah, I remember now.
Yeah.
But I need to see more evidence than the one video, right? There's so many we have. It's called the midnight sunset. Everybody has the sun setting, and there's only been a few that we've been actually to think that it's real, because CGI is getting so incredible. We know that Dee Marble went there in the summer to film it, and he actually had to CGI it because the sun actually set.
Yep. So this is
Sun just set. That's the
this is
sunset.
and this is what gets promoted, right? So it's
There is.
chat replay is disabled.
Again, we just witnessed the sun set. Now, it did set at midnight, right? People that live in Grand Prairie, my uncle lived out there for a while, and it was light out till like 11 o'clock at night, but the sun still set. But apparently, if you go far enough north or far enough south, you will witness this. We haven't yet, but both sides use CGI, where clouds don't change. They loop it. They only show you part of the loop. There would be an abundant. This evidence is just hokey. It's just sunset after sunset after sunset.
If it was real, you would expect to be able to just find an endless amount of links of
But not
of footage of it.
goes 68 degrees north or south, right? That's the problem. Only like scientists and government people get to go there.
Isn't this the one that Jaron always goes against?
Yeah, because the clouds morph. It starts off here, the snow on top of the mountain here. I don't know if this is the one, but I know he does mock the clouds stay the same, and they're all fake. They fake it both in the north and the south.
Absolutely. All right, so we'll go back to. He's got 2 more points.
The fact that the United Nations use it as their...
So he
missed the.
You had the
His Gleason-
fake videos of the 24-hour sun. The fact that the Gleason map exists, and the fact...
The fact that it exists, right?
Yeah, that's
You're saying just because this exists, that's proof that it's this.
the modern college. If you do the actual work, this map came from Boston, and it was an actual old folks home in England who it was actually copyrighted under. Now, again, what we're
And then
telling you,
QNFEE plays a part in this as well, right?
he painted it.
Yeah.
In whatever it's called. But so again, this is a globe. This is a sphere projection,
right? So what they did was for people that weren't as intelligent, that couldn't concept and grasp the way that the globe worked, they squished out Antarctica to the outside of the map and then made it so you could see all the land masses. That's why they created this. Well, and for PSYOP purposes. But it's not a representation of a flat map. It's a globe map from a bird's eye perspective, with the south stretched out to infinity and the north squished into a point.
And this map right here is based off of the C.S. Pierce Oblique Mercator 1894, right? So essentially the exact same map as that one, except this one has color to it. So
the creator of this map said that they've relegated any distortion to the least recognized land spots, which would be in the oceans, is where you'd see any distortion. This is the least distorted representation of our reality, and it's actually set up in such a way that it could be used as a sphere or a flat plane. And this is the reason John LeBon was the guy who said, well, if you could come up with an argument that matched, the one that shows reality the closest would win. So this one is a flat representation of the map that was actually used for a globe. Now, it was Flat Earth Charles, Flat Earth Math, who was like a professor, and his dad worked for NASA. He came onto a live stream and he actually admitted live that this is the best globe Earth map. When you ask someone that believes in the globe, hey, which projection do you use? This one here is the most accurate, and it's a coordinate system. It's not an actual map or projection. It's a coordinate system. So you measure off of the lines of latitude and longitude with a compass, and you can actually navigate through Dead Reckoning.
absolutely.
His last point is really, really bad.
Really bad.
Fact that the United Nations use it as their logo.
How gross. Except they don't have Antarctica. That's a laurel wreath, right? Which is symbolism for Rome, which goes back to Babylonian, which goes back to the Canaanites and to the fallen angels.
Yeah, the United Nations is absolutely a Freemason, New World Order, PSYOP organization, the whole thing. Like, any truther knows that the United Nations is as dirty as the WHO, is as dirty as the Vatican, right? It's absolutely dirty. So, yeah, they're part of the fake flat Earth.
Yep. And they just, again, are using a globe projection that's been squished down so everyone can see the land masses, and they chop it up into how many? 33 sections.
Exactly. Ha ha ha. So he's going to he just did his review here. Then he's going to go on to just shout me out. So let's go ahead and finish this, and then after that we can probably wrap it up. But let's check this out.
20 reasons why I believe in the A.E. Gleason map. I don't need to be laughed at by other flat earthers for supporting this map. I don't want to be called a shill for supporting this map.
Jackass.
You think any of these reasons
Clown.
are valid? Come at me, brah.
Yeah, we're coming, brah.
Brah.
We're coming at you, brah.
But no, it's not a hand wave dismissal. It's not blind faith. It's not me repeating shit I heard from other flat earthers. These are 20 valid,
Stupid.
logical reasons to believe in the flat earth map that we use.
What is he
I've been doing this
doing?
for 9 years. I've seen
You haven't.
different flat earthers come and go,
You've come
who I
and
never
gone.
believed were real flat earthers, who will promote false models. Like when a couple years into the flat earth movement, that's when the Mercator map Pac-Man people came into existence. That's when these flat earthers, I think like Awake Souls, he might be one of these fucks. He's probably
Oh, this jackass.
What a narcissist. He got all like, he got all weirded out, and then he was having a hard time figuring the right words to spit out when he was coming at you. And again, the only thing that the CIA could do was start calling it Pac-Man when it is nothing like Pac-Man, right? We've been saying it's asteroids.
Stereographic virtual reality.
That's right. And there's actually visible, observable witnessing that you can all do. Now, if we go back to the Andrew Marsh site, brother Jason, going at you, Stinky Cash, this is the most accurate representation and model of our reality, and it perfectly aligns with the Book of Enoch, how it has 6 gates and the sun travels through each of the gates, and it perfectly aligns with everything that was written 5,000 years ago by the creator of the Bible and all of the extra canonical books of the scripture. This is our true working model. We don't need to use the stereographic projection. That's just a macro to show everybody the larger scale. It's not reality. What we're looking at on the screen right now is measurable, observable reality. And that city that you're seeing the sun circle around that's coming up out of the ground, the sun now, it's a flat plane, right? Where everything has to be measured perfectly like this. And how accurate is this model?
To 100th of a degree per second.
100th of a degree per second, bro.
Per second.
So how about that, Stinky Cash? Why don't you debunk Andrew Marsh? Okay, if you were a true man of truth with integrity, you would realize that almost every single one of your 20 points that you did was all damage control, trying to make money with your YouTube videos, shilling for Azazel and the rest of the people who want everyone to be as lost as you can possibly be. When Jason and I are here just simply sharing truth.
Simple. It is simple. But some people are against it. In fact, most people are. That was the stanky. We covered the stank. And he stank it up.
Horrible.
It is horrible. But gave us the opportunity to come out and do some Flat Earth Friday. And feels good. It's been a little while.
Yeah.
But we knocked the rust off. And I think we're going to be going live again because... Ooh, what a weekend. We've got the finale of the Great American Eclipse coming up this Monday. What do you think of that?
Yeah, I'm excited. It's probably going to be clouded out for most of the United States and Canada, sadly. But we'll try to watch it. We'll try to find people that's watching it. We'll try to maybe do something on Monday. We'll probably be back Sunday night. But Austin, Witsit Gets It, Stinky, Cash, Jaren, any of your smartest AE mappers, who does he shout out? Taboo, Conspiracy, any of you clowns want to come and debate, you can come on our channel anytime you want. You won't be talked over. You'll be fully allowed to speak. You can bring all of the evidence that you want, and we'll show the whole entire realm, heaven and earth, all of the angels and all the humans alike, where the truth is. It's an open invitation. We can do it in a format, in a debate system, or we can just have a hangout. Stinky, you can come on and defend yourself anytime you want. You don't need to block Jason or block me in your chat. You can come on. You got Zoom, you're welcome. Any of these guys that they shout out as supposed Eric Dubay, Stinky Cash, Mark Sargent, all of you, you're all in welcome. You're all invited. We just want to find what the truth is. But you know what, everybody on the other side of the screen, none of them are going to show up because they actually don't have any truth.
That's the problem.
You know what?
There's the problem.
They're all lost in Tokyo. And with that,
Zionist Jesuits.
the only place you're going to hear this is on the Yahawashai News Networks.